presentation mode for a minute because I'm going to ask a question and I want to see a show of hands of folks. And you can either put your hand up like this or you can push your little hand button. But I am curious about how many people who, are in the throes of organizing pre-service in the past have incorporated on-demand training in pre-service. So it's training that folks can do on their own time, they're at their own pace on their computers, and then you're doing other things that are live and in person. Excellent. Excellent. Seeing some hands, some real hands and some cartoon hands. That's a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. Okay, Courtney, we can go back to presentation, because what we are thinking about when it comes to pre-service is really focusing on adult learners and what they need. And there's a lot of research around adult education and adult learners. And we want to share that with you today and hopefully inspire some new thinking as you're planning your pre-service. So we're going to start with an activity. And I think Rachel is sharing this for me. All right. She's going to share a Padlet with you. And the link will be in the chat. You can open the link on your computer, and then we will be able to see everyone's answers here so that we can start to have a little bit of group discussion in this big group of almost 100. And my question for you is to first just think, what PD have you experienced in the last 12 months or so? Like something that really stands out as favorite. Just think about it. And as you're thinking about that really good PD experience, I want you to put on a Padlet note why that was the one you thought of. Why is that your favorite? And if you've not used Padlet before, you click in the little bottom right-hand corner, there's a plus sign. Click there, it'll open a little Post-it note. You type your answer in and hit enter and it'll post for you. So I'm not so interested in which PD you thought of. That's in your brain. But I'd like you to type on a Post-it, why do you think that's the one that rose to the occasion as I asked that question? The presenter was passionate and it was relevant to my everyday experience. What else? It was fun and engaging. It was interactive. Lots of interactivity. You were able to bring ideas back to your program and that made it memorable. The presenter had a lot of energy. The presenter was engaging. It was in person and I could interact. Boy, isn't that refreshing these days. A chance to practice, get feedback, different delivery methods. The presenter was very knowledgeable. There was a lot of reflection. It gave me actual information I can use. It's that relevance part. More about it being in person. It was fun and interactive. It allowed me to sit back and listen. I love all these perspectives. Energetic and relevant. Okay. So as you add to our Padlet, we will still be able, everyone will be able to see these. We had some humor there. It made me laugh out loud. Love it. I need to know who that is. I want to talk about your answers here and how well they illustrate adult learning theory. If you study adult learning theory and what makes learning experiences effective for adults, there are really three things that rise to the top, and they are relevance, which we see all over this Padlet. I can take it back and use it. It was important to me. It was something I could go back and teach my staff. Engaging speaker, the engaging presenter, the person who's talking to you. And of course, that goes from everything to their style, but also how do they feel about what they're presenting? It's not everyone who's really good at presenting doesn't have to be big, loud, and energetic. Sometimes they're a little more subdued, but when they're passionate about what they're teaching, you feel that. And then the last one, which I think might be the most important to adults, is that there are choices in the experience, that you have the opportunity as an adult to behave like an adult and make some choices throughout the day or as you're doing the learning. So if we kind of put a pin in those three things I want to pull up another Padlet, and I want to ask you a couple of other questions. And this is going to be more about you reflecting on the PD you've done in the past. And the first thing I want to focus on autonomy, because I think that adult choice is a really big piece of how engaging things feel when adults are going through it. And I'm using the word adult, but we find this to be true with kids too. Children like to have choice too. Choice is a big part of just the human experience, but we'll talk about it in reference to adult learning. What are the challenges in preventing choice and autonomy in PD? When you click on your Padlet, you can drag it, or you can click on the plus underneath in order to add to each of these each of these columns. Then the second thing I want you to think about is, how does autonomy show up in the PD that you plan? What are you currently doing to give people choice, to make them feel like they're being treated like an adult, and therefore they can relax into the learning itself and it feels a little bit more respectful, I think. So we check in with them throughout it, the PD. It's one way autonomy can show up, being sensitive to their needs. There are so many required trainings. So many required trainings, limited time, tight time constraints, time. Understanding the relevance to topic at hand and the experience that's provided. Offering choices about how to respond to the activities. I love that. Maybe you can draw a picture, you can write a paragraph, you can act it out. Being able to express yourself differently, that's a really great way to tap into autonomy. Holding folks accountable and making sure they actually participate. Boy, isn't that a tough one, especially when it's something really vital like active supervision, for example, or bloodborne pathogens. Those are really important things to know if you're going to work in an early childhood setting. Allowing them to choose trainings for themselves. Can they make their own choices? Some things are required, but is there a way to make required trainings embedded with choice? That's a really interesting thing to think about. Could compliance and choice work together? A lot of challenges around time. I think that is going to be the biggest sticking point. I remember doing pre-service, and we had 2 whole weeks, which felt like such a long time when I started planning. And then before I knew it, I didn't have enough time to give the teachers any classroom time, which was always a problem. We do a lot of required trainings online, so we have time at staff meetings for more interactive and innovative developments. Whoever wrote that could come and teach this webinar with me. That's exactly what we're going to talk about. Permission to pass when you're uncomfortable. I like it. Some things might be required, and some things, you don't necessarily have to require to get the learning in. Open-ended questions are a good way to offer autonomy, getting people's experiences and perspectives. Really, really good. And using peer facilitators. I love that. Something that you can really relate to. Excellent. So you guys have all kinds of ideas here. And so what I want to do is I want to use your ideas that you have shared here as sort of the springboard into the conversation that we're going to have today. And really what I'm hoping is when we finish today, that you can leave this very short pre-service with a punch and take away from this experience one nugget that you can use this August as you welcome people back into your program to really get them excited about the program year through compliance training. What a challenge that is. I think it's, we look at the requirements that are given to us from both the Office of Head Start and your state, and maybe even your locale. You have very short time constraints, and a lot of you have a lot of people to serve, and people who work in very different lanes of the organization. So your educators, your health workers, your custodians, everybody's got to go through certain training, and trying to manage all that can be really, really tough. So I'm going to pivot and pass the mic to Rachel. And Rachel's going to talk a lot about the time management piece of pre-service, which is really at the crux of all of this, because if we have more time, that's really where the punch can happen. I think we need to have the space, the oxygen, and the time, and then we can fit some of that fun into the process. Rachel?
Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel Hutchison. I work for NHSA as the Senior Manager of Online Instructional Design for the Academy team. So one of the big things that we have heard from you over the years that we've been running the Academy is that compliance training is not fun. Compliance training takes up a lot of time. Compliance training is hard on the organizers, and you're adults too. And this pre-service time should be meaningful for you as much as it is for the people that you're trying to serve. So I'm gonna add a section to our Padlet real quick that I didn't have prepared. But I would like to know, as a PD organizer, how does autonomy show up for you? Let's just phrase it that way. When do you feel like, okay, this is working? There you go. I'm going to share it again so everybody can see these answers coming in. End of the year feedback. Absolutely. You got to have that feedback loop. The people tell you if it's working, and quite often they'll tell you if it's not, which is still a gift because then you know what to fix. Right? The worst is when everyone's like, it was fine, it was fine. And you know it could be better, but you're not sure how. Yeah, that positive feedback feels so good when you work really hard on something and you know that they enjoyed it and got something out of it. We always appreciate that on the Academy team when we hear from you that something we've built is helping you do your work. That's the best. We celebrate that pretty hard. Participants illustrate enthusiasm during and after. Again, that's a feedback loop. That's really nice. When you see the learning being implemented, that's the golden nugget, isn't it? When you've taught them something and not only did they pay attention and enjoy the training, but it keeps showing up. We call that stickiness in training. You really want it to be something they can take home and use, not once, but throughout the year. That's fantastic. Seeing training take life in their roles, absolutely. When it shows up and it's actually meaningful, that's so very gratifying as a trainer. When they make something to post in their classroom based on the training and then make it their own. Oh man, is that the best? When you take hold of training and you reteach it, that's really what that is, right? You've made it your own and said, here's how we're going to use it. When they're engaged, when they participate, when you've got that buy-in, when they request more. Who doesn't love that? That's great. When they will share it with coworkers and when it gets tied into their PD goals and you can see that CQI. Absolutely. I mean, you don't ask for better than that from trainings of any kind. So what I wanted to share with you today, in addition to just remember that there are ways to make this work for you and for your people. And it all starts with listening to what they want and what they need. We have a tendency, especially as leaders, to think we already have the answers and to just run with them and to forget to stop and let everyone buy in. And they buy in at the beginning by answering that simple question. What would you like to see? What could make this a good experience for you? Now we all know that sometimes you get great feedback that turns into fabulous trainings, and sometimes you implement everything they said and they still don't like it. There's no magic bullets here, but by talking to people and by listening to them on the front end, you're way better off and much more likely to have a successful training event. So what I wanted to share with you today in regards to time management, as Dr. B was saying, was thinking about maximizing your training time. So we had this conversation at our national conference with a group of programs that we invited to come and talk to us about pre-service. Let's get really in the weeds on this. What works? What doesn't work? What are you implementing now? What would help you do it better? And one of the programs brought to us this idea that they had already implemented called Choose Your Own Adventure Training. And they do this as part of their pre-service. They turn it into a mini conference. an absolute not to be missed event. And they turned it into more of a retreat than a training. They do this by using breakout rooms, and they offer PD on a variety of topics that their staff has told them they want. Now, if you're already thinking, who's going to run all those trainings? That's already in the Padlet you guys filled out earlier. Your community is in those trainings. You go and get peers to teach peers. Everybody has something to share. It doesn't all have to be on your back to put together those trainings. So then you can return to this format during in-service days and go even more in depth or cover additional topics if they told you they would like to see more. You can also involve your staff in the process by not only choosing the format and the content, but by letting them lead. A lot of adults have special talents or special, well, as we talked about before, passions, things that they really enjoy teaching that they might be willing to step up and do with you. So then it's a matter of giving people choices, as many options as possible, and let them self-select into what is going to serve them best. So we'll just use the chat for this last one. Dr. B asked you about a training you went to that was really meaningful for you and why. I'd be curious to know, what's a training you went to that was really meaningful for you as the topic? What do you like to learn about that you would like to see in a pre-service session that you might then see implemented in people's work, in their classrooms, in how they interact with one another, and how they take care of themselves? What would work really well for your program? And I'm asking you to put it in the chat so everybody can see it as well and think, oh, that might work for us too. That's what we're here to do, is to share with one another. Creating resilience in staff and children, solid topic. And that's a good reminder at the beginning of the year, because you're going to need that later. Yep, ethical dilemmas. They come up every day, and some of them are small, and some of them are pretty massive. You got to be prepared. So doing those scenarios early on in the year is a great way to get your brain ready for it. Creating trauma-informed classrooms, building good communication in your team, challenging behavior best practices. We have a whole series around that you can come check out. We're going to do another one next year. Building passion and empathy in staff, bring up children and families. So this is a great place to start. I mean, you don't have to give your staff a blank slate. You could say, here's some ideas just to get you started thinking, what else could we do? What else would you like? And the more that you can get people engaged and invested and directing their learning, the better the engagement will be for your training as a whole. And it'll be easier for you because people will start raising their hands to help. Can't guarantee that, obviously, but you're much more likely. So there's one more thing that we wanted to share with you today as a means of making this easier. And that's kind of where we started with Dr. B at the top of the hour, which was how many of you are using on-demand learning in your pre-service or at any point during the year to get through some of those compliance-based trainings? Because let's be real, compliance and choice are like antithetical. You have to do it. But there are ways that you can still include choices that make adults lean into the training a little bit more by giving them options of when they learn and how they learn, so that they can choose the modality that works best for them and the time that works best for them. Putting everyone in a room and putting a speaker in front of them to learn about bloodborne pathogens for the 100th time may not be the best approach. There might be another way to do it. So we can start thinking creatively about how to even get through our compliance trainings by providing more choice to people. So to talk about a tool that we've developed in regards to this, I'm going to go ahead and pivot to our Academy Plus associate, Annabelle Bergeron.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here and get to chat a little bit about something that we've created to hopefully solve and enhance this choose your own adventure opportunity. So I am going to share my screen as we walk through this together and introduce you to Academy Plus. So Academy Plus was built because of conversations like this. We met with the field and talked to them about what would benefit them the best. And out of that came a lot of this choose your own adventure, allowing people to have autonomy, choice in PD, but still knowing that they were going to complete those compliance required trainings and know that they came from a resource like NHSA that is Head Start specific and aligns with those expected outcomes every single year. So Academy Plus was really built to support these nationwide needs, but then allow you to have that program specifics, that content flexibility, the access flexibility, and it has this kind of ever-growing course catalog. So we continually meet with programs and learn about these new areas of growth, these new challenges that we're experiencing, and see how we can best support the field in meeting those expectations, in serving our children better. And currently with our 44 courses, they serve both this pre-service area, whether it's your effective practice, your safety courses, your general Head Start information, but then it allows learners to truly choose their own adventure and venture out into the course catalog and find those moments of joy, that those moments of PD joy that really increase and make them feel confident as a Head Start professional. And it was also really important to us to have you covered in that content department, but we also wanted to ensure that those facilitators of PD, those of you who are responsible for planning pre-service, that you also felt supported in this process. So Academy Plus is designed completely through a self-registration process, so you don't have to go through the process of registering people and then get to the point where you have a new staff member and go through that process all over again. You have this self-registration method where anyone can join at any point in time. You can have your staff members in there, but you can also have all of your new folks who join you throughout the year, your parents, your community partners, truly building this representation of what creates your program. Additionally, you have your designated Academy Plus Success Associate who trains your administrative team, because we want you to feel comfortable and confident with this tech, that you have the ability to access it and to really utilize it to ensure that you have this ability to give people that choice. So you have this program admin access that allows you to give access to the 44 courses, but then for those moments where you see you have this area of growth and opportunity for a specific individual, you can present those and assign those courses to them so that they know that you're listening to them saying, hey, I'm really interested in transitions. I'm kind of struggling with it right now. And you can go in and curate those course assignments for that individual learner so that they feel that their conversation that they're having with you is being reciprocated into this PD and what you suggest and push to them. You can also do things like run reports to ensure that, oh, we are meeting all of these needs. Look at us celebrating our goals together. We have achieved our PD, and those visual goals are really important to adult learners, but also to everyone. We love to see when we have met our goal of success, and those reports and that ability to share that data with people really shows that. The other neat thing about this platform is the ability to design it the way that it fits your program. So we talk about this flexibility, and then you get into a PD site and then you feel like, oh, I'm kind of stuck. This doesn't quite represent the way that my program runs. And so you have the ability to come in and curate these spaces, create these sub-teams that reflect your job functions, or maybe you have in-service days that you're ready to have PD planned throughout the year. And maybe there's an area where you think, and all those great suggestions that were in the chat, gosh, people have really been wanting this area of content. Well, you can go in and design those courses for your staff. You can go in and create those areas of growth that your staff members are really interested in, and allow Academy Plus to reflect the national required standards, but then the things that make your program unique. And then we have some fun communication features and a learner homepage that's really accessible, because it was important to us that technology is never a barrier to entry. When you start to feel those barriers to entry and you think, gosh, pre-service is hard enough, and now I can't get logged in or I can't figure out the platform, this allows for a lot of ease of access. And lastly, the continued shared success. You get these digital certificates that you can post online. You can show people what you're accomplishing, and you can see it. When you go into that digital portfolio and you see one certificate, then you see 10, then you see 20, and you know that I am building myself as a Head Start professional, and I can see it happening in real time. So I think that's a part of this that's really exciting. And we want you to know that we're here to help you figure out what's going to work for pre-service and how to support your staff and your program, because we know that this can be a very tedious process and it's difficult to plan. And we want you to know that we're here to help you find that flexibility and that learner success, because we want to see all of our programs successful. So thanks for letting me steal some time and present this.
That's great. That's great. And I think the idea behind this very quick pre-service with a punch, because this is so short, is just to get you thinking differently about your pre-service. If you're already doing that hybrid on demand with in-person, you are on track. That is where you need to be. Make sure those on-demand courses are engaging. Make sure they're not just click, 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 get this paper, because people will start to question the quality of the whole thing. Nobody really likes to just click through a course and get a certificate that says they did it if they really didn't learn something. And that's one of the issues with on-demand learning right now, is it's being churned out pretty fast, and by people who are not in the early childhood space or not in the Head Start space. One of the things when we started the Academy and started doing this when I joined in 2021 was we were not going to be a churn and burn organization. We talk to you all, we look at the Head Start performance standards, the ELOF, and we build everything aligned with that. And that's important. So just double check that that's what's happening. And then when you create those in-person experiences, the beauty of that is you can do what many of you put in that Padlet, which is relationship building. Because through the relationship building experience, as you're bringing staff back, you're able to create that energy and excitement for the work they're about to embark on. And we all know it's a very, very challenging year. I mean, that's no secret. So the more energy and connectivity we can plant in August, the longer runway you have for people to go through the year. And we're really here for you. So Academy Plus is one option. We have other asynchronous courses like Head Start. We've got a pre-service bundle that you can do without doing the whole LMS. But the beautiful thing about the LMS that she just shared with you is you can build your own courses on it. So yeah, you can use all the ones we create for you, but you could also make one that's very specific to your program that says, meet the leadership, and you go through and they meet the leadership through an online course before they ever come in. And we just love the idea that we can support programs getting involved in this kind of learning, because it's really the learning of the future. It's not going away, and we want to embrace it. And the other thing about the digital portfolio that I do want you to know, and this is true for anything you do here at NHSA, that belongs to the learner forever. So even if they leave Head Start, they still will have that digital portfolio at their disposal. That's for life. So that's very exciting to us, because we think building a professional pathway is a really big piece of retention in our work. Okay, that was a lot. I don't have time for questions, but I absolutely am here for you. Annabelle is here for you if you want to set up a meeting. Rachel is here for you. All of us are available here at the Academy. We're happy to set up a meeting with your team if that helps you, or if you just want to shoot us a question through the help desk, we'll answer that way, whatever's easier for you. But we appreciate your time today, and let us know if there's anything we can do to help you make that pre-service punchier this year, so everyone is excited to come back to work. Have a great afternoon.